The road had disappeared almost an hour ago. Ethan kept driving anyway, following a narrow trail through the forest that was barely wide enough for his truck. Tall pine trees surrounded him on both sides, their branches scraping against the roof whenever the trail became too narrow. There was no cell signal, no road sign, and according to the GPS, no road at all. He checked the dashboard clock. 8:43 p.m. Perfect. He had planned to reach the cabin before dark. He had failed. The hunting cabin had belonged to an old friend of his father's. Ethan had rented it for 5 nights because he needed to get away from the city, from work, from people, from everything. The cabin was supposed to be isolated, but not this isolated. When the headlights finally caught the wooden structure between the trees, Ethan almost felt relieved. Almost. The cabin stood at the edge of a small clearing. It was old, but not abandoned. A thin column of smoke was coming from the chimney. Ethan slowed the truck. He stared at the smoke. He hadn't lit the fireplace. He stopped the truck about 30 feet from the cabin and killed the engine. The forest became completely silent. No insects, no birds, not even the wind. Ethan remained inside the truck for several seconds, staring at the cabin. Then he laughed quietly. Probably the previous owner. He grabbed his flashlight and stepped outside. The cold hit him immediately. He opened the truck bed, took out his backpack and a box of supplies, and walked toward the cabin. Halfway there, he stopped. There was something carved into the wooden post beside the front door. Ethan pointed his flashlight at it. 3 numbers. 317. He frowned. What's that supposed to mean? There was no answer. He unlocked the door. The inside smelled like old wood, dust, and something faintly metallic. Ethan switched on the lights. 2 yellow bulbs flickered above him. The cabin was small but comfortable. A living room, a kitchen, 1 bedroom, and a bathroom. There was an old fireplace against the far wall. He put his backpack down, then noticed something. There were fresh footprints on the wooden floor. They started near the fireplace. They crossed the living room and stopped directly in front of the front door. Ethan stared at them. He slowly looked down at his own boots. The footprints were smaller. Someone else had been inside. Recently, he checked every room. Nothing. The bedroom was empty. The bathroom was empty. The kitchen was empty. He even opened the closet. Nothing. Ethan returned to the living room. He looked at the footprints again. For some reason, he couldn't stop thinking about the smoke coming from the chimney. He walked toward the fireplace. There were ashes inside, still warm. Someone had used it recently. Ethan crouched beside it. Underneath the ashes, he found a small piece of blackened paper. He pulled it out carefully. Most of it had burned away, but 1 sentence remained. If you hear knocking after midnight, do not open the door. Ethan stared at the sentence, then laughed. Okay. He tossed the paper into the fireplace. But before he could stand up, knock! Ethan froze. The sound had come from the front door. He slowly looked toward it. Nothing. He waited. 5 seconds. 10. Then another sound. Knock! This time louder. Ethan stood up. Hello! Silence. He walked toward the door. His hand reached for the handle. Then he stopped. It wasn't midnight. It was only 9:21 p.m. He looked through the small window beside the door. Nothing but darkness. He opened the curtain slightly. The clearing was empty. The trees stood motionless. No person. No animal. Nothing. Ethan stepped away from the window. Probably a branch. He locked the door, then checked it twice. At 11:48 p.m., Ethan was lying in bed. The fireplace had gone out. Rain had started sometime earlier, tapping softly against the roof. He was almost asleep when he heard something outside. A faint sound, like footsteps moving across wet leaves. He opened his eyes, listened. Nothing. Then, crunch. Another step. Crunch. Another. The footsteps stopped directly outside the bedroom window. Ethan sat up. His heart began beating faster. He reached for his flashlight, then remembered the warning. If you hear knocking after midnight, do not open the door. He looked at the clock. 12:03 a.m. A cold feeling moved through his stomach. Then the knocking started. Not at the front door, not at the window. It came from somewhere underneath the cabin. Knock. Ethan stopped breathing. Knock. The floor beneath his bed vibrated slightly. Then a third knock. Knock. Ethan slowly climbed out of bed. He pointed the flashlight toward the floor. Nothing. Another knock came. This time, a voice whispered from beneath the wooden floorboards. A man's voice, very quiet, almost impossible to hear. Ethan. His blood went cold. He had never told anyone he was coming here. Not the owner, not his friends, not his father. Nobody. The voice whispered again. Ethan. Then silence. Ethan stood completely still. He looked at the clock. 12:07 a.m. He slowly backed toward the bedroom door. And then, 3 loud knocks came from the front door. Knock, knock, knock. Ethan stared down the dark hallway. He could hear someone breathing on the other side of the door. And then the voice spoke again. This time, it sounded exactly like him. Ethan, I know you're awake. Ethan didn't move. He stood in the bedroom doorway with the flashlight pointed toward the front of the cabin, listening to his own voice coming from the other side of the door. Ethan, I know you're awake. For several seconds, there was nothing else. Then Ethan whispered, Who are you? The answer came immediately. You know. Ethan felt the hair rise on his arms. He tightened his grip around the flashlight. How do you know my name? Silence. Then 3 knocks. Knock, knock, knock. Ethan stepped backward. The same number. Always 3. He remembered the carving outside. 3:17. But it was only 12:07 a.m. Something was wrong. He slowly walked toward the front door. Every step made the wooden floor creak beneath him. When he reached the hallway, he stopped. The breathing outside had disappeared. He stared at the door. Who's there? Nothing. He waited. Then the voice came again. Don't open it. Ethan frowned. What? You heard me. The voice still sounded exactly like him. But now it was quieter, almost frightened. Don't open the door, Ethan. He stepped closer. If you're me, then tell me something only I would know. Silence. Ethan thought for a moment, then asked, What happened to my mother? Nothing. His mother had died when he was 17. It was something almost nobody knew about. The voice finally answered. You blamed yourself. Ethan's stomach tightened. He hadn't told anyone that. Not even his father. He reached for the door handle, then stopped. The voice whispered, That's not me outside. Ethan froze. What? Whatever you hear. The voice became barely audible. Don't let it hear you answer. Then everything went silent. Ethan stood there for almost a minute. Finally, he stepped away from the door. He went back into the bedroom and locked the door. He didn't sleep. Instead, he sat on the edge of the bed with his flashlight beside him. At 1:03 a.m., the rain stopped. At 1:21 a.m., he heard footsteps around the cabin. Slow footsteps. They moved from the front porch to the left side of the building, then around the back. Ethan didn't move. The footsteps stopped outside the bedroom window. He stared at the curtain. Something brushed against the glass. Scrape. Then nothing. At 2:14 a.m., the footsteps started again. This time they were inside the cabin. Ethan heard them in the hallway. Step. Pause. Step. Pause. He held his breath. The footsteps stopped outside his bedroom. The door handle moved. Click. Ethan grabbed the flashlight. The handle turned slowly, but the door didn't open. Something on the other side was trying to push it. Ethan whispered, "Go away." The pressure immediately stopped. Silence. Then a voice spoke. His own voice. "You shouldn't have answered." Ethan's eyes widened. He hadn't realized he'd spoken. He covered his mouth. The voice continued. "Now it knows where you are." The bedroom window suddenly cracked. Crack. Ethan jumped. Another crack appeared. Then another. He looked toward the window. The glass was still intact, but something had pressed a hand against the outside. A human hand. 5 fingers. The palm slowly slid downward. Ethan backed away. The hand disappeared. Then a face appeared behind the curtain. Ethan screamed. He grabbed the flashlight and threw it toward the window. The curtain moved. The face vanished. Ethan ran to the bedroom door. He unlocked it and rushed into the hallway. The cabin was empty. He looked toward the window. Nothing. He ran to the front door. The lock was still in place. He opened it. Cold air rushed inside. The clearing was empty. No footprints. No person. Nothing. Ethan stepped outside, then stopped. His flashlight fell from his hand. There were footprints in the mud. They started at the front door. They went across the clearing, then disappeared into the trees. Ethan crouched down. He recognized the boot pattern. It was his. Same size, same tread, same worn-out heel. He looked down at his own boots, then followed the footprints with his eyes. There was something strange about them. They weren't coming toward the cabin. They were going away from it. Ethan slowly stood. He looked into the forest. The footprints disappeared into the darkness. Then he noticed something else. There was another set beside them. Bare feet, small, like a child's. Ethan's breathing became shallow. He followed the two sets of tracks with his flashlight. After about 20 feet, they stopped. Both sets, at the exact same spot. Ethan looked around. Nothing. Then he heard a whisper from the trees. "You shouldn't have followed them." Ethan spun around. Nobody. He stepped backward and accidentally kicked something buried beneath the mud. A small metal object. He crouched down and picked it up. It was an old key. Attached to it was a piece of faded plastic. 3 numbers were written on it. 317. Ethan stared at the key, then looked back toward the cabin. For the first time, he noticed something he hadn't seen before. There was a second door on the side of the cabin. It was completely covered by vines, and the key in his hand fit its lock perfectly. Ethan walked toward it. He inserted the key. Before turning it, he heard a voice behind him. His own voice, very close. "If you open that door..." Ethan stopped. The voice whispered, "You'll find out why you came here." He slowly turned around. There was nobody there, but in the mud behind him, a fresh footprint appeared. Then another, then another. Something invisible was walking toward him. Step, step, step. Ethan grabbed the door handle and turned the key. Ethan kept his hand on the door handle. Behind him, something invisible continued walking through the mud. Step, step, step. He didn't turn around. The key was already inside the lock. He whispered, "Whatever you are, stay there." The footsteps stopped. For several seconds, there was nothing. Then the voice behind him answered. His own voice. "I'm not the one you should be afraid of." Ethan turned. The clearing was empty, but the footprints were still there. 2 sets. His boots, the child's bare feet, and now a third set. Bare feet, much larger, standing directly behind him. Ethan stepped away. He looked at the cabin. The side door was only a few feet away. He turned the key. Click. The door opened. A smell came from inside. Cold, damp, and strangely familiar. Ethan raised his flashlight. The beam revealed a narrow staircase descending into darkness. He stared down. "There's a basement?" He had inspected the cabin when he arrived. There was no basement on the floor plan. No staircase. No mention of another room. But the stairs were real. He took 1 step down, then another. The door behind him slowly began to close. Ethan grabbed it. No! He pulled it open again. For some reason, he suddenly felt that if the door closed, he would never find the cabin again. He kept it open with one hand and continued down. The staircase seemed much longer than it should have been. After 20 steps, Ethan looked up. The cabin door was still visible. After 30 steps, it became smaller. After 40, he couldn't see it anymore. Only darkness. He continued. At the bottom was a concrete hallway. Old pipes ran across the ceiling. Water dripped somewhere in the distance. Drip, pause, drip, pause. Ethan walked slowly. His flashlight revealed several doors. The first had no number. The second had a faded letter, B. The third, C. Then he saw one that made him stop. Underneath it was a small metal plate. 317. Ethan touched the plate. It was warm. He immediately pulled his hand away. From behind the door came a faint sound. A radio. Static. Then a man's voice. "If anyone finds this recording..." Ethan froze. The voice continued. "Do not stay in the cabin after the third night." He looked at the door. "Who's there?" The radio stopped. Silence. Then the same voice answered. "Ethan." His heart dropped. He hadn't told anyone his name. The voice continued. "If you're hearing this, you're already too late." Ethan slowly opened the door. Inside was a tiny room, a table, an old radio, a chair, and dozens of cassette tapes stacked against the wall. Each tape had a date written on it. 2003, 2007, 2011, 2015, 2019, 2023. Ethan picked up the newest one, 2025. He put it into the recorder, pressed play, static. Then a man's voice. "My name is Marcus Hale." Ethan recognized the name. Marcus Hale was the man who had originally owned the cabin. The recording continued. "If you're listening to this, you're probably staying here alone." Pause. "That's what I did." Another pause. "The first night, I heard knocking." Ethan's eyes moved toward the door. 3 knocks. His grip tightened around the flashlight. "The second night, I heard my own voice." Ethan stopped breathing. "The third night." The recording suddenly became distorted. Then Marcus whispered, "I saw myself outside." The tape clicked. Then silence. Ethan pressed rewind. Nothing. He tried again. The tape wouldn't move. Then another cassette fell from the shelf. It landed at his feet. Ethan picked it up. There was no date. Only one word. Ethan. He stared at it. His hands began shaking. He put it into the recorder. Static. Then his own voice. "If you're listening to this..." Ethan immediately pulled the tape out. He stepped backward. "No." The radio turned on by itself. His voice came through. "You've already opened the door." Ethan dropped the cassette. The room lights flickered. Then the radio said, "Don't turn around." Ethan froze. His breathing stopped. Something was standing behind him. He could feel it. Presence. Close. Very close. The radio whispered, "It's wearing your face." Ethan slowly turned. Nothing. The room was empty. He looked toward the door. A figure was standing in the hallway. A man, back facing him, wearing Ethan's jacket. Ethan's jacket. The same one he was wearing. The figure slowly raised its hand and pointed toward the end of the hallway. Ethan whispered, "Who are you?" The figure answered, his own voice, "I'm the one who came here before you." Ethan stepped into the hallway. The figure disappeared. He ran after it. The hallway seemed to stretch endlessly. Doors appeared on both sides. Each one had a name. Marcus, David, James, Ethan. He stopped at his own door. Ethan. Underneath. 3:17 a.m. He checked his watch. 2:51 a.m. 26 minutes. He opened the door. Inside was a bedroom. His bedroom. Not the bedroom upstairs. The bedroom from his apartment. His bed. His desk. His computer. His photographs. Everything. Even the mug he had left on his kitchen table that morning. Ethan stepped inside. On the desk was a photograph. He picked it up. It showed him standing in front of the cabin. But the picture wasn't old. It had been taken today. And behind Ethan stood a man. Ethan turned the photograph around. There was writing on the back. "You were never supposed to come alone." A sound came from behind him. "Knock." Ethan froze. The bedroom door was closed. "Knock." He stared at it. Then the third knock. "Knock." A voice came from the other side. His own voice. But this time, it was crying. "Ethan, please." He stepped closer. "Please open the door." Ethan reached for the handle, then stopped. Something felt wrong. He looked at the photograph again. The man standing behind him was no longer there. The photograph had changed. Now Ethan was standing alone. and the cabin behind him was burning. He heard a whisper from beneath the bed. "Don't open that door." Ethan slowly looked down. Two eyes were staring at him from underneath the bed. A child's eyes. The little boy whispered, "He learned your voice." Ethan backed away. The bedroom door began shaking. Bang, bang, bang. The voice outside screamed, "Ethan!" The child underneath the bed grabbed Ethan's ankle. Ethan nearly screamed. The boy whispered, "Don't let him inside." The door began cracking, and on the other side, something started laughing. Exactly like Ethan. Exactly like him. Then Ethan looked at the clock on the bedroom wall. 3:16 a.m. 1 minute remained, and the thing outside the door whispered, "At 3:17, you won't know which one of us is real." The clock on the wall showed 3:16 a.m. Ethan stood in the middle of the bedroom, staring at the door. The thing outside was still laughing, his own laugh, but there was something wrong with it. It sounded like someone had learned how laughter worked without ever understanding why humans laughed. The child underneath the bed tightened his grip around Ethan's ankle. "Don't let him in," Ethan whispered. "Who is he?" The boy didn't answer. The door shook again. Bang. A crack appeared near the handle. The voice outside became desperate. "Ethan, please. It's me." Ethan stared at the door. "If you're me." He paused. "Tell me what I was thinking when I entered this cabin." Silence. The child whispered, "Good." Ethan waited. Then the voice answered, "You were thinking about your mother." Ethan's face went pale. That was correct. He had been thinking about his mother. The child suddenly pulled harder on his ankle. "Don't listen." Ethan looked down. "What?" The boy's eyes were wide. "It doesn't need the truth." The door shook again. Bang. The voice outside whispered, "I know everything you know." Ethan stepped backward. The clock changed. 3:17 a.m. The entire cabin went silent. The door stopped shaking. The laughter disappeared. Even the child stopped breathing. Then the bedroom door opened. Slowly. Nothing was standing outside. Just a dark hallway. Ethan didn't move. The child crawled out from underneath the bed. He looked at Ethan. "Now we run." They stepped into the hallway. The moment Ethan crossed the doorway, the bedroom disappeared. There was no room behind them. No bed. No door. Just a solid wall. Ethan stared at it. "What the hell?" The child grabbed his hand. "Don't stop." They ran. The hallway seemed endless. Every few seconds, another door appeared. Behind one door, Ethan heard his mother calling his name. Behind another, he heard someone crying. Behind another, he heard himself screaming. He kept moving. Then the child suddenly stopped. Ethan almost crashed into him. "What?" The boy pointed ahead. At the end of the hallway stood a man. Ethan. Exactly like him. Same clothes. Same face. Same scar. But this version looked exhausted. There was blood running from his nose. He slowly raised his hands. "I'm not him." Ethan didn't believe him. The child stepped in front of Ethan. "Ask him." Ethan looked at the man. "Ask me what?" The man smiled. "Ask me something the house can't remember." Ethan thought, then asked, "What did my father call me when I was 6? The man's smile disappeared. He looked at the child, then back at Ethan. "Danny." Ethan froze. The child nodded. "He's real." Ethan stared at the man. "Who are you?" The man walked closer. "My name is Marcus." Ethan recognized the name. The man from the cassette. The previous owner? Marcus nodded. "I came here 12 years ago. You said you saw yourself outside." "I did." "What happened?" Marcus looked behind Ethan. "I opened the door." Ethan's stomach dropped. "And," Marcus whispered, "it came inside." The lights above them flickered. Marcus continued. "The thing outside wasn't trying to enter." He looked directly into Ethan's eyes. "It was trying to escape." Ethan stared at him. "Escape from what?" Marcus pointed toward the floor. "This place." The floor suddenly trembled. A deep vibration traveled through the walls. The child grabbed Ethan's hand. "It's coming." Marcus looked terrified. "How long?" The boy answered, "Not long." Then a sound came from behind them. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Coming down the hallway. Step. 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 Marcus looked at Ethan. "When it reaches the end of this hallway, don't look at its face." Ethan whispered, "Why?" Marcus answered, "Because the first face you see will become yours." The footsteps stopped. Silence. Ethan could hear his own heartbeat. Then a voice came from behind him. His mother's voice. "Ethan?" His eyes filled with tears. He hadn't heard her voice in years. "Baby, turn around." Ethan almost did. Marcus grabbed his shoulder. "Don't." The voice became softer. "It's me." Ethan closed his eyes. His mother had called him baby. Only she had. The voice whispered again, "Danny." Ethan opened his eyes. Marcus looked shocked. The child whispered, "It found the memory." The footsteps started again. Step, step, step. Marcus pointed toward a door. Inside, they rushed into the room. Marcus slammed the door shut. A second later, bang. Something hit the other side. Marcus pushed a heavy table against the door. Ethan looked around. It was the same room from the basement. Cassette tapes covered the shelves. But now there were hundreds of them. Marcus grabbed one. "We don't have much time." "What are you looking for?" He showed Ethan the label. "First Night." Marcus put it into the recorder. Static. Then a younger man's voice. "Marcus. My name is Marcus Hale." Ethan listened. "Tonight is my first night in the cabin." Pause. "It's 2:58 a.m. Marcus looked at Ethan. "Listen." The recording continued. "Something has been knocking for the last hour." 3 knocks sounded on the tape. "Knock, knock, knock." Ethan's skin crawled. Then younger Marcus whispered, "I think it sounds like me." The tape suddenly distorted. A second voice appeared. Ethan's voice. "Marcus." Ethan looked at Marcus. Marcus shook his head. "That's impossible." The recording continued. "Marcus, don't open the door." Then Marcus's younger voice screamed, "Who's there?" The tape stopped. Marcus stared at the recorder. Ethan whispered, "You heard it before." Marcus nodded. "But that recording was made 12 years ago." Ethan looked at the cassette. "Then how did it have my voice?" Marcus didn't answer. The child did. "Because it already knew him." Ethan looked at the boy. "Who?" The child pointed toward the door. "You." Ethan felt his stomach drop. Outside, something whispered, "Danny." Marcus went pale. The voice continued, "Do you remember the accident?" Ethan stopped breathing. A memory flashed through his mind. Rain. His father's car. A dark figure in the back seat. His father screaming. Then a child's hand gripping his. Ethan whispered, "I remember." Marcus stared at him. "What do you remember?" Ethan looked toward the door. There was someone in the car. Marcus nodded. "And?" Ethan's face went white. "It looked like me." The room suddenly went silent. Then the child spoke. "Because it was you." Ethan turned toward him. "What?" The boy looked up. Tears were running down his face. "You weren't the passenger that night." Ethan couldn't breathe. The child whispered, "You were the thing in the back seat." The door behind them slowly began to open. And Marcus whispered, "Oh God!" Standing in the doorway was Ethan's father. But this time his face was covered in blood. And he was holding a car key. The same key Ethan had found outside. He looked directly at Ethan and said, "You were never supposed to survive." Ethan couldn't move. His father's face was covered in blood. The same face Ethan remembered from the photographs. The same voice he'd heard in his childhood. But there was something wrong with his eyes. They were completely black. His father slowly raised the car key. "You were never supposed to survive." Ethan stepped backward. "No!" His father smiled. "But you did." Marcus grabbed Ethan's arm. "Don't listen to him." Ethan looked at Marcus. "He's my father." Marcus shook his head. "No, it's using your memory of him." The thing wearing his father's face tilted its head. Marcus! Marcus froze. The thing smiled. You still blame yourself too. Marcus's expression changed. Ethan realized something. The creature wasn't simply copying voices. It knew things. Private things. Things that had never been recorded. Things people had buried. The thing stepped into the room. That's what this place does. Marcus backed away. Stay away. The creature looked at Ethan. It doesn't create copies. Pause. It reveals them. The lights went out. Ethan heard Marcus scream. Then something crashed against the wall. Ethan swung his flashlight around. The beam caught Marcus lying on the floor. He was bleeding from his forehead. But the creature was gone. Ethan rushed toward him. Marcus! Marcus grabbed his wrist. We have to leave. Where? The cabin. Ethan stared at him. We're already inside it. Marcus shook his head. Not this cabin. He pointed toward the floor. There are two. Ethan didn't understand. Marcus pulled himself up. The cabin upstairs is real. He pointed toward the hallway. This one isn't. Ethan stared at the walls. What is this place? Marcus whispered. The memory underneath it. They ran through the hallway. The doors were changing. Some disappeared. Others appeared where there had been walls. Marcus kept moving. Ethan followed. Behind them, something was walking. Not running. Walking. Slowly. Step. 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 Marcus shouted. Don't look back. Ethan didn't. They reached a staircase. Marcus stopped. Down. Ethan looked at him. Didn't we come from downstairs? Yes. Then why are we going back? Marcus stared at him. Because the exit is underneath the beginning. They descended. The staircase seemed endless. The walls were covered with photographs. Ethan saw himself at different ages. 6, 12, 17, 25, 30. Every photograph showed him somewhere near the cabin. But he had no memory of being there. Then he saw one that stopped him. It showed Ethan at 6 years old, standing beside his father's car. The date, October 14th, 2004. His father was standing beside him. But there was someone else in the photograph. A second Ethan, standing behind the car. The same black eyes, the same expression. Ethan whispered, "That's me." Marcus nodded. "Yes." Then who was I? Marcus stopped walking. The boy inside the car. Ethan stared at the photograph. A memory came back. His father driving. Rain hitting the windshield. His mother screaming. No, his mother wasn't in the car. She had died years earlier. But Ethan remembered her voice. He remembered her sitting beside him. He remembered her hand. Marcus looked at him. "That's not your memory." Ethan's breathing stopped. "What? The house gave you that memory. Why?" Marcus looked terrified. "Because it needed someone to blame." They reached the bottom. There was a large wooden door. No handle. Only a number carved into it. 317. Marcus pulled a small key from his pocket. Ethan recognized it immediately. It was identical to the key he'd found outside. Marcus inserted it. The door opened. Inside was the original cabin, exactly as it had looked in 2004. The furniture, the fireplace, the old television, the smell of smoke, everything. Ethan stepped inside. Then he saw the car keys on the table. His father's keys. He picked them up. A strange feeling came over him. He suddenly knew where they belonged. He walked toward the fireplace. There was a small metal box underneath it. Inside was a cassette. The label said, "Daniel, final recording." Ethan stared at the name. "Daniel." Marcus looked at him. "That's your father's name." Ethan put the cassette into the recorder. Static. Then his father's voice. "If Ethan ever comes back." Ethan stopped breathing. His father continued, "Don't tell him what happened." Pause. "He needs to believe he survived." Marcus looked at Ethan. The recording continued. The thing in the back seat wasn't a monster. Ethan's eyes widened. His father's voice became shaky. "It was Ethan." The cassette clicked. Silence. Ethan stared at Marcus. No, Marcus didn't speak. The recording started again by itself. My son was 6 years old. After the crash, I found him alive. But he wasn't the same. Ethan stepped backward. His father's voice continued. He kept asking me who the man in the back seat was. A pause. There was no man. Another pause. There was only Ethan. The tape stopped. Ethan dropped the recorder. He couldn't breathe. Marcus walked toward him. You weren't possessed. Ethan looked at him. Marcus continued. You were copied. The walls began shaking. A child's laughter came from the hallway. Ethan turned. The 6-year-old version of himself was standing there. But this time he wasn't crying. He smiled. You remember now. Ethan stepped backward. What are you? The child smiled wider. I'm the part of you that never left. The lights flickered. The child disappeared. Then the cabin door slammed shut. Marcus rushed toward it. Locked. He pulled the handle. Nothing. Ethan looked at the clock above the fireplace. 3:16 a.m. Marcus whispered, No! Ethan stared at him. What? Marcus slowly turned. Every time it reaches 3:17, the clock ticked. 3 hours, 16 minutes, and 30 seconds. Marcus continued, The cabin chooses which version survives. Ethan heard footsteps behind him. He turned. His father was standing in the hallway. Then the older Ethan appeared beside him. Then the 6-year-old Ethan. 3 versions. 3 faces. All staring at him. The clock moved. 3 hours, 16 minutes, and 45 seconds. His father whispered, Choose. The older Ethan whispered, Choose. The child whispered, Choose. Then all 3 smiled at the same time. 3:17 a.m. The lights went out, and Ethan heard his own voice whisper directly beside his ear. There can only be one Ethan. The room went completely dark. For a few seconds, Ethan couldn't hear anything except his own breathing. Then someone whispered beside his ear, There can only be one Ethan. Ethan spun around. Nobody. He raised the flashlight. The beam flickered once, twice, then came back on. The room had changed. His father was gone. The 6-year-old boy was gone. The older version of Ethan was gone. Only Marcus remained. He was standing beside the fireplace, staring at the clock. 3:17 a.m. But the second hand wasn't moving. Marcus whispered, It's stuck. Ethan looked at him. What does that mean? Marcus didn't answer. Instead, he pointed toward the wall. A photograph had appeared there. Ethan walked closer. It showed the cabin from outside. 3 people stood in front of it. His father, Marcus, and Ethan. But there was something strange. There were 2 Ethans. One stood beside his father. The other stood several feet behind them. Ethan touched the photograph. The image moved. The second Ethan slowly turned his head and looked directly at him. Ethan stepped backward. The photograph suddenly burned from the inside. Marcus grabbed his arm. We need to go. Where? The car. What car? Marcus pointed toward the window. Ethan looked. The black sedan was parked outside. Its headlights were on. The driver's door was open. Marcus whispered, That's our only way out. They ran toward the front door. This time it opened easily. The forest outside was completely different. The rain was gone. The trees were covered in frost, and the sky was almost black. Ethan stepped onto the porch. He looked at his watch. 3:17 a.m. Still, Marcus grabbed his shoulder. Don't look at the road. Why? Because it's not there. Ethan looked anyway. The road had disappeared. There was only forest. The black sedan was sitting directly in front of the cabin. Ethan walked toward it. Marcus followed. The driver's door was open. Ethan stopped beside it. Inside the car was the same steering wheel from his childhood memory. The same cracked dashboard. The same smell. He looked into the back seat. Empty. Marcus whispered, "Get in." Ethan hesitated. "What about you?" Marcus smiled. "I'm not leaving." "What?" Marcus stepped backward. Someone has to stay. Ethan shook his head. No. Marcus pointed toward the passenger seat. That's where I sat the first time. Ethan looked. There was blood on the seat. Fresh blood. Marcus continued. The house doesn't need everyone. He looked toward the cabin. It only needs one person to remember. Ethan suddenly understood. Marcus wasn't trapped because he couldn't leave. He was trapped because he had forgotten. Ethan opened the driver's door, then heard a child's voice behind him. Don't get in. He turned. The 6-year-old Ethan stood in the forest, barefoot, shivering. Ethan walked toward him. Come with me. The child shook his head. I can't. Why? The boy pointed toward the car. Because he's already inside. Ethan froze. He looked back. The driver's seat was empty. The passenger seat was empty. The back seat was empty. Then the rearview mirror moved. A face appeared in it. Ethan's face, but older, much older. The reflection smiled. Hello, Ethan. Ethan stepped away. The reflection remained. Then it slowly raised its hand. Behind Ethan, someone grabbed his shoulder. He turned. It was his father. But his father looked exactly like he had on the night of the accident. Blood on his forehead, torn shirt, terrified eyes. He whispered, Don't trust the one in the mirror. Ethan stared at him. Then who is real? His father looked toward Marcus. Marcus was standing beside the cabin, then toward the child, then toward the car. He whispered, None of us. The forest went silent. His father continued, The real Ethan never came back. Ethan's chest tightened. What? His father pointed toward the cabin. He's still there. Ethan turned. The cabin windows were glowing. Someone was standing behind the glass. A man. It looked like Ethan. He placed both hands against the window, then mouthed, Help me. Ethan stared. The older reflection in the car suddenly laughed. The child began crying. Marcus shouted, Don't go back. Ethan looked between them. The cabin, the car, the child, his father, Marcus. Every one of them was telling him something different. Then he noticed something. All of them were standing completely still, except one. The man inside the cabin. He was moving. He was walking toward the door. Ethan whispered, That's the real one. Marcus's face went pale. No. The cabin door opened. Ethan's double stepped onto the porch. He looked exactly like Ethan. Same face, same clothes, same scar. He walked toward them and said, Thank God. Ethan stared at him. The double looked directly into his eyes. I've been trapped inside for 12 years. Ethan whispered, Then who am I? The double smiled sadly. You're the copy. Everything became silent. The 6-year-old boy disappeared. His father disappeared. Marcus disappeared. The forest disappeared. Only Ethan and the double remained. The double stepped closer. You were created to replace me. Ethan shook his head. No. Your memories were given to you. No. Your life was given to you. Ethan backed away. The double pointed toward the black sedan. And now the house wants you to give it back. The clock inside the car changed. 3:18 a.m. For the first time that night, time moved forward. The double smiled. That's good. Ethan looked at him. Why? The double whispered. Because the real night is finally beginning. Behind them, the cabin lights turned off one by one. Then the front door slammed shut. And from somewhere deep inside the forest, the 3 knocks began again. Knock, knock, knock. The 3 knocks continued somewhere deep in the forest. Knock, knock, knock. Ethan stared at the man standing in front of him. His face, his voice, his memories, everything about him looked exactly like Ethan. But one of them had to be the copy. The other had to be real. The man took another step forward. You don't remember being created, do you? Ethan shook his head. No, of course you don't. He looked toward the cabin. That's how it works. Ethan glanced at the black sedan. Then tell me something. The man smiled. What? What did my father call me when I was 6? The smile disappeared. He didn't answer. Ethan stepped closer. Come on. Silence. You said you were the real Ethan. The man looked away. Ethan whispered, You don't know. The man suddenly laughed. Neither do you. Ethan froze. Then the man pointed toward the forest. Ask him. Ethan followed his finger. A man was standing between the trees. His father. Again. But this time he wasn't covered in blood. He looked young, healthy, exactly as Ethan remembered him before the accident. Ethan whispered, Dad. His father smiled. Danny. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. The word hit him harder than anything else. Only his father had called him that. The man beside him stepped backward. For the first time, he looked afraid. Ethan turned toward him. You didn't know. The double said nothing. Ethan walked toward his father. Are you real? His father nodded. I'm what you remember. That's not what I asked. His father smiled sadly. It doesn't matter anymore. Ethan stopped. What do you mean? His father looked toward the cabin. The house doesn't care which one of you is real. The double suddenly shouted. Don't listen to him. His father turned toward him. You always were impatient. The double's face changed. For a second, Ethan saw something underneath the skin. Something dark. Something moving. Then the face returned to normal. Ethan stepped backward. What are you? The double looked at him. His eyes became completely black. The part of you that wanted to live. The ground beneath them began to shake. The cabin windows shattered one after another. Crash, crash, crash. The black sedan started by itself. His headlights turned toward Ethan. His father shouted, Get in! Ethan ran toward the car. The double followed. They reached it at the same time. Ethan grabbed the driver's door. The double grabbed the passenger door. Both froze. Neither moved. The engine roared. The dashboard clock changed. 3:19 a.m. Ethan looked at the passenger seat. There was blood on it. His blood. He looked at the double. The double smiled. You know what happens next. Ethan shook his head. No. You drive. Where? Back to the accident. Ethan stared at him. The double continued. That's where this started. Ethan looked toward his father. His father was standing several feet away. He looked terrified. Don't take him with you. Ethan looked at the double, then at his father. Why? His father answered, Because he wants you to remember the wrong thing. The double laughed. He would say that. Ethan suddenly noticed something. His father wasn't looking at him. He was looking at the double, and he was shaking. Ethan whispered, Dad. His father finally looked at him. Yes. Who was driving the car that night? His father didn't answer. Ethan's heart began pounding. He asked again, Who was driving? His father looked at the ground, then whispered, You were. Ethan stopped breathing. The double smiled. His father continued, You were 6 years old. No. You had climbed into the driver's seat. No. You wanted to drive. Ethan shook his head. I couldn't drive. His father looked at him. You weren't driving the car. Ethan stared. What? His father pointed toward the double. He was. The double's smile disappeared. Ethan looked at him. The double slowly stepped backward. His father continued. The thing in the back seat wasn't you. Pause. It was him. Ethan felt the world tilt. The double whispered, Don't believe him. His father shouted. He caused the accident. The double suddenly lunged forward. Ethan jumped aside. The double grabbed his father. His father's body slammed against the car. Ethan screamed, Dad! He rushed toward them. The double turned. His face was changing. Not Ethan anymore. Not human. The skin stretched. The jaw widened. The eyes became completely black. And underneath its face, Ethan saw dozens of other faces. Marcus, his father, the child, strangers, all of them screaming. The creature opened its mouth. I only wanted to go home. Ethan grabbed the car key. The creature released his father, then rushed toward him. Ethan jumped into the driver's seat, locked the doors. The creature slammed both hands against the windshield. Bang, bang, bang. Ethan started the engine. The headlights illuminated the road. For the first time, the road was visible. It led straight into the forest. And at the end was the crash site. His father stood beside the car. He shouted, "Ethan!" Ethan looked at him. His father pointed toward the rearview mirror. "Whatever you see." The creature climbed onto the hood. "Don't look behind you." Ethan put the car into gear. The sedan accelerated. The creature disappeared beneath the hood. The forest blurred around him. Ethan looked at the rearview mirror. He shouldn't have, but he did. The back seat was empty. Then a small hand appeared on the glass. A child's hand. And a little boy's voice whispered, "Dad." Ethan slammed the brakes. The car stopped. He looked at the dashboard. 3:20 a.m. Then he looked ahead. The crash site was directly in front of him. His father's destroyed car sat beneath the tree. But there was something else beside it. A second car. The exact same black sedan. And standing beside that car was another Ethan. Then another. Then another. Dozens of them. All watching. All waiting. One of them stepped forward. He looked exactly 6 years old. He pointed toward Ethan's car and whispered, "This is where you choose which one gets to leave." The road ended at the crash site. Ethan sat behind the wheel, staring through the windshield. Dozens of versions of himself stood among the trees. Some were children. Some were old. Some looked injured. Some looked exactly like him. And all of them were watching. The youngest version stepped forward. "This is where you choose." Ethan swallowed. "Choose what?" The boy pointed toward the wrecked car. "Who gets to leave?" Ethan looked at the passenger seat. It was empty. Then he looked in the rearview mirror. The creature was sitting in the back. His face looked like Ethan's. But now Ethan knew better. He turned around. "You're not me." The creature smiled. "Neither are they," pointed toward the forest. The dozens of Ethans began whispering, "I'm real. I'm real. I'm real." The voices merged together until Ethan couldn't tell them apart. He stepped out of the car. "Then why do I remember everything?" The creature stepped out behind him. "Because you're the last one." Ethan looked toward the wreck. Suddenly, the memory returned. The rain, the car, his father, the crash. But this time, he remembered what happened afterward. He remembered waking up. He remembered crawling from the wreck. He remembered seeing his father lying motionless. And he remembered something else. A second Ethan crawling out from the back seat. The creature. It had looked 6 years old. It had taken Ethan's hand and whispered, "Don't tell Dad." Ethan closed his eyes. "I remember." The creature stopped smiling. Ethan continued, "You didn't cause the accident." The creature stared at him. "You survived it." Silence. "You were trapped here afterward." The creature's face began changing. Ethan looked toward the dozens of versions. They aren't copies. He finally understood. They're memories. The forest became completely silent. His father's voice came from behind him. "Yes." Ethan turned. His father stood beside the wrecked car. For the first time, he looked peaceful. Ethan walked toward him. "Why didn't you tell me?" His father looked at the creature. "Because I was afraid you'd come back." "Did you?" His father nodded. "Many times." Ethan stared at him. "How many?" His father smiled sadly. 49. Ethan remembered the number on the dashboard. Deliveries completed. 49. He finally understood. Every delivery had been another attempt. Every time he returned, the house reset his memories. And every time he left, another version remained behind. His father said, "This was your 50th. Ethan looked at the creature. "What happens now?" His father pointed toward the black sedan. "You decide." Ethan walked toward the car. The creature followed. They stood beside each other. For the first time, Ethan didn't feel afraid. He looked at it. "You want to leave?" The creature nodded. "Yes." "You've been trapped here for years." "Yes." "And every time I came back, you tried to take my place." The creature looked down. I thought I was you. Ethan nodded. I know. The creature looked at him. What are you going to do? Ethan opened the passenger door, then stepped aside. Get in. The creature stared at him. What? You deserve to leave. The creature shook its head. If I leave, what happens to you? Ethan smiled. I'll stay. The creature looked toward the house. You'll be trapped. Ethan nodded. Maybe. His father suddenly shouted. Ethan, no. Ethan looked at him. Someone has to stay. His father shook his head. That's not how you break the cycle. Ethan froze. What? His father smiled. You don't break it by choosing who stays. He pointed toward the road. You break it by refusing to choose. Ethan understood. The house needed one of them. A real Ethan. A copy. A memory. It didn't matter. The moment one chose the other, the cycle continued. So Ethan stepped away from the car. He looked at the creature. You want to leave? The creature nodded. Then leave. But you? Ethan shook his head. I'm not choosing. The forest began shaking. The cabin lights turned on in the distance. Every version of Ethan screamed. The creature grabbed Ethan's arm. What are you doing? Ending this. The clock on the car dashboard appeared. 3:20 a.m. Then 3:21. The first time the clock had moved forward. The creature screamed. The road began cracking. The cabin collapsed in the distance. The trees bent inward. And all the versions of Ethan started disappearing. One by one. The child. The teenager. The older versions. Marcus. His father. Everything. Ethan's father was the last one standing. He looked at Ethan. Go home, Danny. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. Dad. His father smiled. You already did. Then he disappeared. The forest became silent. The black sedan vanished. The wreck disappeared. The road disappeared. And Ethan was standing alone. Morning sunlight touched his face. He opened his eyes. He was lying beside an ordinary forest road. A police officer was standing over him. Sir, can you hear me? Ethan sat up. What happened? The officer looked confused. We found you beside the road. How long have I been here? The officer checked his watch. About 20 minutes. Ethan looked around. There was no cabin, no wreck, no black sedan, nothing. He stood slowly. What's the date? The officer told him. Ethan looked toward the sky. For the first time in years, he felt free. 3 months later, Ethan moved to another state. He stopped driving at night. He never worked another delivery job. He never talked about Blackwater Road. And slowly, the memories began fading. His father's face became harder to remember. The cabin became a distant nightmare. Even the little boy's voice disappeared. Ethan thought it was finally over. Until one night, he woke up at 3:16 a.m. His apartment was completely silent. Then, knock. Ethan sat up. His heart stopped. Knock. He didn't move. The third knock came. Knock. He stared at the bedroom door. Then his phone vibrated. One notification. A delivery request. He didn't touch it. The screen lit up by itself. The address appeared. 17 Blackwater Road. Ethan whispered, "No." The notification disappeared. Then another appeared. Wrong address. Ethan stared at the screen. A second message appeared. "We're not at the cabin anymore." His phone camera turned on. The front-facing camera showed his bedroom. But behind him, someone was standing. Ethan slowly turned around. Nobody. He looked back at the phone. The figure was still there. He stepped closer, then leaned toward the camera. It was the 6-year-old version of Ethan. He smiled and whispered, "You left the door open." The phone screen went black. Then came 3 final knocks. Not from the bedroom. Not from the front door. From inside the wall beside Ethan's bed. Knock, knock, knock. Ethan didn't move. And for the first time, he understood the truth. The cabin had never been the prison. Ethan was